Today I'm going to show you guys how to make the Ankh Shield in Terraria. And the Ankh Shield is one of the best items in the game to have, and it is also one of the most convoluted items in the game to have. So I'm going to try and show you how to do this as easily as possible so that everyone here can get it without any frustration or issues. So the Ankh Shield grants immunity to knockback and fire blocks, and grants immunity to most debuffs. You make the Ankh Shield at the Tinkerer's Workshop, so you need to have the Goblin Tinkerer. You want to have the Obsidian Skull with the Cobalt Shield. You want to have the Nazar with the Megaphone. You want to have the Blindfold with the Pocket Mirror. You want to have the Vitamins with the Armor Polish. You want to have the Adhesive Bandage with the Bazoar. And you want to have the Trifold Map with the Fast Clock. And then you combine all of these together to make the Ankh Shield pretty much. Let me show you how you get these items one by one. So as I mentioned already, you're going to need the Goblin Tinkerer in order to do this, and the chances of you not having the Goblin Tinkerer are very slim. So I'm just going to say that you get him underground after you get invaded by the goblins. There's 99% chance you already have him. To get the Obsidian Skull, you need obsidian. So obsidian is created when you put water onto lava, and you just mine it like so and create the Obsidian Skull. Then you have to go to the dungeon in order to get the Cobalt Shield. You can get that as soon as you've killed Skeletron, and you pretty much open the golden chest with a golden key and you get your Cobalt Shield. To get the Nazar, I'd recommend staying in the dungeon and killing these giant cursed skulls. Now, you can get these also from hallowed swords. It's the swords that attack you when you're in the hallowed biome. I prefer to do it in the dungeon because it gives you some time in the dungeon, and dungeon is one of the most underused places in Terraria. But completely up to you which way you go. And these guys are very annoying when they disable your ability to attack. So be very careful of that. As you can see here, I'm getting stuck a little bit with him. Now, those giant skulls, I recommend putting down battle potions and putting down water candles, of course, to increase spawn. And I find that they tend to spawn very early on in the dungeon, or if you go very, very deep into the dungeon. So I tend to go all the way down to like a big area and get my battle potion ready and start farming there. So best of luck farming those guys. It can take a while. In fact, all of the items in the Ankh Shield takes a while, so don't give up. For the Megaphone, I like to go to my Crimson biome, and I go to my Crimson farm and I farm these blood mummies. Now, let me take a moment just to tell you guys that you can get all of these items from other mobs as well. So just because I prefer to get them from these ones doesn't mean you should, but these are usually the best order to get them in my opinion, and you get the Megaphone quite quickly from these guys, especially if you have a farm. So I'd highly recommend doing it here. But you can also get them, for example, from the Pixies in the Hallowed biome, which is where you also get the Fast Clock. The reason why I like to stay here for the Megaphone is because you can also get the Blindfold here. So we're literally just trying to get the mummies to drop 2 items, the Megaphone and the Blindfold. And that'll be 2 items in one go. And they drop them quite regularly as well, because other items in this Ankh Shield is going to take a lot longer to get. So we are in the Marble biome now, and we are looking for the Pocket Mirror. And the Pocket Mirror drops from Medusa. Now Medusa can be a pain in the ass to try and kill because of her Stone Gaze attack. So keep her distance and attack her until she drops the Pocket Mirror. But you may have noticed something else as well. And that is there's giant bats here. And those giant bats can drop the Trifold Map. So in the Marble biome, you are farming for 2 items. So don't forget to use your battle potion again. Now, I would also recommend smoothing this area out and getting a little arena going, because this particular setup that I have isn't very good for Medusas. They're going to keep falling down these holes. So I'd recommend just getting a better setup, slightly better setup than this. Maybe move out of the Marble biome and back in regularly so that they'll spawn. Medusas don't spawn very often, and that is one of the reasons why the Pocket Mirror is going to take you a little bit longer than some of the other items that you're looking for. Next up is the vitamins. Now, the vitamins are in the Crimson as well, so very close to your Crimson farm that I mentioned earlier. But for this, you're going to have to go into the underground because you're going to want to fight the floaty grosses. This is actually way easier to get on a corruption map because the enemy will spawn on the surface. And you could actually put corruption onto your Crimson map in order to do this quicker as well. Because farming these guys is going to take a little bit longer since you have to go underground and they don't spawn very often. They can be a bit of a semi-rare spawn, so hopefully we get a couple. Even here, I'm not far down enough. You actually have to go to the cavern layer for this, which means the background needs to disappear. And your best bet for these guys... Oh, look, a heart statue. Your best bet for these guys is to go down here where the walls disappear. You're still in the Crimson. Actually, you need to go down a little bit further in order to get to the caverns. Now I'm finally in the caverns. And I'd recommend creating an area for everything to spawn, because once again, this area is not great to spawn these guys. Luckily, they go through blocks, so you're going to be able to have them come towards you, but everything else is going to get stuck and take up the spawn. So I'd recommend bombing out an area down here and getting it set up. Next up, we have the armor polish. Now, the armor polish is gotten from the blue bones in the dungeon. You can also get from the blue bones in the cavern layer as well, as long as you're in hard mode. And we're going to go down here and find some of these guys. On the way down, I'm just going to say, having you come back and forth from the dungeon like this is a little bit inefficient, I know, but I had to choose which order to do this in. But hopefully you are not confused. I have to say that this is definitely a very difficult recipe to organize, and it was a difficult recipe to decide which way I was going to show it to you. So I chose the way that I chose. Hopefully you can follow along. But I've just killed one of the blue bones there, and I'm going to show you another couple just so you can see what they look like before I kill them real quick. Usually they'll start to spawn once we settle down. So there is the blue armored bones there. I'm actually going to remove my guy here. And yeah, the best thing about the next item is we have the bandage and the bezoar, and we're going to get both of those from the same place, which is the jungle. While we're in the jungle, we are looking for bees to kill in order to get the bezoar. And we're looking for anglerfish in the water in order to get the bandage. I've killed a couple of the bees already without any bezoar, but I'm just going to show you this is what they look like. I mean, it's just a bee or a hornet. And yeah, just kill as many of those as you can until you actually pick up the bezoar. For the anglerfish, you need to be in the cavern layer in the jungle in order for them to spawn. So you're going to be looking in the cavern layer for bodies of water that you can spawn them in. You can create your own water if you want and just keep moving in and out of the screen in order for them to spawn. And they don't spawn that often. So unfortunately, you're going to be farming for a while for this guy. And a lot of people go for the rusty armor bones for this, which is a post-Plantera dungeon enemy, which means you can get another item in the dungeon. But I just prefer to go for the anglerfish for this particular drop. You're going to have to move around a lot to find the anglerfish. There's one right there. And when you actually finally catch it, they have a low chance of giving you the lucky bandage, but I actually was very lucky there and I got one. So luckily enough, they dropped it. So the next item that we're looking for is the trifold map and the fast clock. Now, don't forget, when we were in the marble biome, we were fighting the giant bats and we were able to get the trifold map. And the fast clock is going to be dropped by these pixies. So you literally go to a hallowed biome and you kill pixies, which are useful as well because they're going to drop pixie dust. As you can see, we have a light mummy here on our screen, and I don't think it's going to drop the item we're looking for, but that is one of the items or one of the enemies that drops the trifold map. And the trifold map is one of those things that tends to drop as you're playing the game anyway, so you shouldn't be farming for too long. We have the fast clock and the mummies drop the trifold map. So now we're going to put these together and actually create the Ankh Shield. So we have the obsidian shield from the obsidian skull and cobalt shield. We have the armor bracing from the armor polish and the angry vitamins. We have the medicated bandage from the Bazaar and the bandage. We have the plan from the Trifold map and the fast clock. And we have the counter curse mantra from the Nazar and the megaphone. And we also have the reflective shades from the pocket mirror and the blindfold. And when we put all of those together, we can make the Ankh charm from the armor bracing, medicated bandage, the plan, counter curse mantra, reflective shades, and we put those two together to get the Ankh Shield. It's a tough one to farm, but you honestly will be fine. You just have to know which enemies to kill for each thing, and I just showed you my preferred enemy for each item. So you can of course use the little map that you can get on the wiki in order to see which enemies you would prefer to kill. But I just prefer having my little system. And if you have your system, it's easier to remember how to do it. So thank you very much for watching today's video. Let me know if any questions. Let me know in the comment section if you do anything differently. And yeah, best of luck with your Ankh Shield. You're going to be very powerful now. Enjoy the rest of your day.